Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And guys, this is another great episode of NXT. A lot of great matches on this show. We got new number one contenders for the tag team championships. We got a major card set up for next week, which really seemed to be the primary theme of the show, was paving the road for next week's show. Just an all-around solid hour of programming and content. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
Absolutely. Here's the crazy thing, guys. I had a weird day on Thursday, and I ended up not getting home until like 10:45 at night. So we missed NXT Live, and we ended up watching it afterwards. And by the time we were done watching NXT, it was at the point that everyone in both of our houses was sleeping, and we didn't wake them up by recording. So we just ended up doing it today, which is Friday. Apologies for that. But that being said, it was still like, man, when that show was over last night, I just wanted to record right away. It was so good, and I'm glad that we are able to get back to it right now because I was looking forward to this.
Absolutely. So unwrap that candy, sit down by the computer, and enjoy yourself, because this is our NXT review, and we, of course, begin, as we do all reviews, with Heat of the Night. I had 0 heats of the night tonight. I was tempted to have one, but I have to credit NXT writing. They always know how to avert crisis, because my original heat of the night was going to be the logic of Hideo Itami continuously plunging into the lion's den and taking on the Ascension, by himself, only to get beat down. But then later in the night he'd say, well, you know what, I'm tired of this. Next week I'm bringing a friend. So I like how he's becoming self-aware that certain tactics will not work here. I think that shows in its own weird way character growth. So
yeah, we will talk about that when we get finished talking about our opening segment of the show. So I have no heats of the night. I almost had the nitpick where I just didn't like that Carmella beat Emma, but not really worth complaining about because there are certain things that kind of go into that make it make sense. So John, if you want to move on, let's do it.
All right, then let us get into our NXT review, and we open this baby up with a tag team battle royal to determine the new number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championship. And I gotta tell you, Ashton, I really like this opener. I think what really worked to its advantage, because I think the one detriment of tag team battle royals is that when one member of a team gets eliminated, the whole team is eliminated, which is something that's never really made sense to me. But even with that rule in tow, it was quite some time before we saw eliminations in this battle royal, and I really like that.
Yeah, this was I don't know. I'm not going to say it was a great battle royal, but there were a lot of really cool kind of hope spots where if you were cheering for any of the teams that weren't the Vaudevillains, there was pretty much a hope spot for every single one of your guys where you thought, oh my God, they might eliminate someone, or oh my God, they might win. And that is what makes a battle royal good.
Absolutely. I think it was Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan got eliminated first, I'm assuming, and then I think
Did
Team
they?
Thick. I believe they did. It was either them or Team Thick. I know ultimately it came down to the Ascension, Enzo and Big Cass, and then everybody, I guess, thought that the Vaudevillains were disposed of, but they rolled back into the ring at the last second.
Yeah. What happened was Jason Jordan, Ty Dillinger, Wesley Blake, and Buddy Murphy were all trying to eliminate each other, and then the Ascension came in and eliminated all 4 of them at the same time.
Right.
And that's why it came down to the Ascension and Enzo and Big Cass, and the Ascension eliminated Enzo and Big Cass by knocking Big Cass outside of the ring, so he was on the apron, and then throwing Enzo at him.
Yeah, the Ascension looked like beasts in this battle royal. I was so impressed. What I marvel at about NXT and how they've written the Ascension, even with this program with Itami, the Ascension, even after dropping the belts, I don't think has lost any credibility whatsoever. If anything, in a weird way, I almost feel like they've gotten even stronger, because they had this battle royal in hand action until Itami came on the stage and provided the necessary distraction for the vaudevillains to capitalize.
Right, and this is where I really wanted to start kind of getting into it, because yes, Hideo Itami provides the distraction so that the vaudevillains can eliminate the Ascension. But then, as you said in your Heat of the Night that wasn't really a Heat of the Night, Hideo runs down and attacks the Ascension again. But to me, what stood out about this was that Hideo did that under the assumption that the vaudevillains were in the ring, so they would also want to beat up on the Ascension, and it would be 3-on-2 rather than 2-on-1. And the vaudevillains left him high and dry. So to me, this established two things. First of all, Hideo Itami can't rely on somebody unless he has it out with them beforehand and he knows that they have his back. And the second thing that this establishes to me is that the vaudevillains are now full-blown heel.
Right, which, as I told you when we were conversing about it, watching the show together, I think is so necessary because, I already like where the potential story is going, where the vaudevillains have only lost to the current tag team champions of the Lucha Dragons, so they have that history there. B, the Lucha Dragons are a very exciting babyface tag team, and I think when you have an ambiguous heel team on the other side, that hurts the overall story. I think this is one of those stories where you need those clearly defined roles. And 3, I just think doing this, that'll get the job done, hopefully, for the vaudevillains, leaving Hideo Itami high and dry, and hopefully in the build-up, maybe getting a few sneaky attacks on Lucha Dragons, doing the really basic heelish things so that we get these guys to be full-blown villains, no pun intended. I really think that's going to make the program all the stronger. So,
yeah. All right. So up next, I feel like we had a promo up next, but all I remember is that we had Carmella versus Emma after this. Do you remember if we had any kind of a promo?
I know. I thought it was at maybe the start of the show or some point, but Sami Zayn did talk about his road to redemption.
Yeah.
And Titus O'Neil said, well, we got a problem because you haven't beaten me. And then Sammy was like, well, are you challenging me? Or I forget how he phrased it. And then Titus is like, no, that's an open invitation, to which we mocked him because that's pretty much the same thing. So, there was that. And then,
yeah, you're right. He did. He opened the show. He giving people thoughts on Adrian Neville, and then Titus challenges him. So
Right.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I forgot about. But then after the Ascension Hideo thing, where the Ascension, do they have a name for that move where they lift him up together and slam him down?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Well, yeah. The Ascension beat up Hideo, and that ends that. And then we get to Emma versus Carmella. And you know what? This match was pretty good. Definitely Carmella's best match yet, considering it's only her second match, and the first one was like 20 seconds long. But the problem that I had here was that Emma should not be losing to Carmella. At one point, Carmella had Emma in a bit of a body scissors, and Emma leaned back and had Carmella's shoulders pinned, and I think that would have been a great way for Carmella to lose her first match, because it's a rookie mistake, and it's something that you didn't get beat, you just missed, you made a rookie mistake, and that is something that you should be able to expect people with as little experience as Carmella to make. Like, you can't make everybody look like Charlotte, where they show up and they're immediately the best person on the friggin' roster. Like, it's just, I thought that this would have been a good opportunity for NXT to kind of reintroduce Emma, because she's obviously not doing anything on the main roster. So I honestly think that she would be best off getting, I guess by technical terms, demoted to NXT, but in our opinion, promoted to NXT, and having another shot at there, because honestly, I think she has a better shot at the NXT Women's Championship than the WWE Divas Championship.
Oh, absolutely. The demotion of Emma has been one of the more disheartening things I've experienced this year, because she's my favorite woman to come out of NXT, and I expected big things for her, and she really hasn't made the splash that I anticipated. And then she comes back down here, which I always welcome for any talent, old or new, and yeah, she loses to Carmella.
Right.
And
oh, go ahead, John.
Well, no, I I was just going to say that I hope they have their priorities straight with this system. I don't know where they're going to go with Carmella. It seems very clear that she is heel, though.
Yeah, that's what I was getting into. It's the only reason that I didn't make this a heat of the night or a nitpick is because of the fact that it really does seem like they're going forward with Carmella as a heel, and a really good way to get heel heat is to beat a beloved fan favorite, and that's what Emma is on NXT. So this was really, really good.
And not just beat her, Ashley, but I mean beat her by submission, which I do think has a certain level of like wow factor to it all its own. But yeah, she definitely is coming off as the heel. I mean, there were certain points in the match where she like had the knee, I guess, against the back of Emma's head, and like she was checking her nails, and then checking Emma's nails mockingly, like, oh, you don't look as good as me. And yeah, you know, it's gonna be so interesting to see how a heel women's wrestler plays off of a babyface duo like Enzo and Big Cass. Like, how much is that?
I'm telling you, man, she's going to try and break them up, and it's just going to make them stronger in the long run, and it's going to make her look like a super heel, and it's going to make them look awesome as baby faces.
Yeah, I really hope you're right about that, because now I'm really intrigued where this goes. I'm curious who Carmella will face next, how serious they are about pushing her. I mean, is it going to be long before you and I are having discussions on this show about her potentially facing the NXT Women's Champion for the title?
Yeah.
You never know how far it'll go. So, yeah, solid matchup. Disappointed that Emma lost, but I mean, Carmella's on the rise, and there's nothing you can do about that, so...
Absolutely. So up next, we had Justin Gabriel versus Bull Dempsey. The only reason this wasn't really a full-on squash match is because Gabriel got a little bit of offense in, but really it was pretty much just Dempsey. The only real complaint here that I have is they really need to tone back the flying headbutt, because it seems like every wrestler that's ever used that has had some kind of brain trauma because of it.
Right, I'm not really all that cool with Bull Dempsey using that as a maneuver. Like, aesthetically, it looks amazing, like a big guy coming off the top rope and doing.
But I mean,
like
really, on that note, why not just do a splash, like a Superfly splash?
Exactly. I mean, I agree.
That would look so much more effective too, because then you've got your whole body landing on the guy rather than just the tip of your head.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think Bull just needs to change that part of his offense. Other than that, I think your review was pretty on point. It was pretty much a squash match, except, you know, Gabriel did get a little bit of offense in. And, you know, commentary tried hyping him up again. I think now we may be resuming the aggressive push of Bull Dempsey. I mean, I don't know. Like, Sami Zayn's involvement definitely complicates things, because I don't know what they're going to do with him, like what they have in mind. But Bull Dempsey, I'd say definitely by next year, I'll say the middle of next year, should be feuding for the NXT Championship. That's where I think they're going to go with him. So that's my prediction. So yes.
You think... So that's my question, though, is when do you think they'll be able to fit Bull Dempsey into the NXT Championship agenda, considering the way we see it, it's going to go from Adrian Neville to Sami Zayn, and then Sami Zayn's first big feud is going to be with Kevin Steen. Or they gave him a new name. It's Kevin something. They let him keep the Kevin, but he has a new last name now.
I want to say Smith, but I know that's not correct.
Definitely not.
Let me think.
What do you think, man? John?
I think it was Kevin Cole. That's what I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, I think something about that strikes me. But again, I don't want to dwell too much on it if neither one of us knows. One of us is going to have to do like a search or whatever. But yeah, I could see a feud with Steen, sure. But I'm going to say that probably by March, I'm going to say, we're going to see Bull Dempsey in the NXT Championship picture.
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens, okay.
So
yeah, but I still say March. I don't know how they're going to debut Kevin Owens. I don't think he's going to be immediately hot shot into the world title picture.
I think that in December when Sami Zayn wins the title, they're going to introduce him. He'll probably be the first guy to face Zayn as champion at a live event, which will probably be in March, because that's when Arrival was, I believe. But on that same, actually, it might have been in February now that I think about it. But regardless, I do think that Steen is going to be hot shot into that picture, even if it's a multi-man match.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I don't really know where NXT is going to go with it. It's going to be very interesting to see how he debuts. So, I mean, I'm excited for it, though, because we know the rich history between these guys, and we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But Bull Dempsey's on the rise, man. He is, I think, one of those pet projects. So I'll be very intrigued what happens and where we go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So up next, we had Bayley backstage talking about Becky. She said she never expected it, but Becky Lynch was brainwashed by Sasha Banks. She said that next week Bayley is going to bring a friend of hers, so it'll be Sasha and Becky versus Bayley and Charlotte. I am so confused by this.
I am so confused as well. Like, I don't understand it. It's just so confusing to me. So the first woman who stabbed you in the back is the one you're going to rely on for the new person who stabbed you in the back. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, it really, this is actually another thing that kind of irked me a little bit, because it's ironic, Ashton, that you and I were very praiseworthy just a little while ago of NXT's sense of continuity and how they remember things. And yet here we are with Bayley putting her trust in the first woman to ever betray her on NXT. So, you know, like, I don't know. It just left me kind of scratching my head. And, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see where it'll go, because obviously I don't think Charlotte is going to betray Bayley. I just found it a little bit comical. Like, wow, you're talking about this whole, you know, I've been betrayed before, and yet, you know, you acknowledge this, and yet you're going to give the person that started this whole trend another chance. So I'm curious where this will all go.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that Charlotte kind of came out and said that Bayley earned her respect, but I still don't know if I like the idea that they're going to be teaming up now. Like, I guess I just wasn't expecting Charlotte to be full-blown face already.
Yeah.
Seems like she's been kind of morally ambiguous since she won the women's championship, because that night when she won it, it seemed like she was a face. And then following that, she was full-blown heel. And then at the next live special, she kind of acted like a heel in the match, but then ended up being a face afterwards. Like, she's so confusing.
She is. Charlotte is a very weird case. Ever since she won the championship, like you said, she's a babyface one week, a heel the next week, and I've just never really been able to pinpoint her, which I think is a huge problem. And now it just seems like, oh yeah, I'll be full-blown babyface, I'll do all that stuff. And I don't know how I feel about it. Like, with her family heritage and calling her finisher like natural selection and how she carries herself, she just seems like a more natural heel to me. Like, that just seems more organic for her. But I'll give face Charlotte, full face Charlotte, mind you, I'll give her a try. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, so up next we had Baron Corbin against Tony Briggs, but it doesn't really matter who the opponent is, because Baron Corbin is the most over person on NXT since Big E.
Yes. And really, there's only one thing I have to say about this match, and that's clock. And what I mean by clock is people were actually timing how long it would take for Baron Corbin to destroy his latest victim. And I think the crowd got up to 15 seconds.
20
seconds? I thought it was a little less than that, but regardless, 20 seconds, demolished them. And the idea that the crowd has already caught on so quickly as to do that kind of, you know, count up there, this needs to be a thing.
Yes.
I hope commentary openly acknowledges it. Hell, if you really, because you know me, I always take things to their extreme, even at the risk of them becoming hokey. If you really want to show off the dominance, have a little clock in the corner, like a timer, and then just do that. I mean, really take full advantage of this. And, hell, have him win the NXT championship in dominant fashion if you really want to. Like, I could see this going on for a while, and I would not mind. So, yeah, I love it, man. I love that the NXT crowd has given this to Baron Corbin, and potentially to NXT Creative, depending on what they want to do with it.
They should have him mow through like 3 or 4 more people in 20 to 30 seconds, and then set out an open challenge for anybody that can last a minute in the ring with him. And I say specifically in the ring, because if he doesn't say that, then they'll be able to just step outside of the ring and play keep away for a minute. But if he specifies in the ring, that could be, dude, that could make some friggin' compelling television.
Oh, definitely. And you could add stakes onto it if it seems like not enough competition's coming forward. Oh, see if you can last 1 minute in the ring with Baron Corbin for $100,000. The idea being that the guy's so destructive, would you risk your own health for personal financial gain?
Right.
Because the guy just destroys.
And here's the
you.
crazy thing, dude. On NXT, $100,000 is actually a big friggin' deal because most of those guys only get paid like 50 a year.
Yeah. So there you
I
go.
think
You
I
do
think
this.
the salary range on NXT is like between 35 and 50 grand a year.
And see, there you go. You have your incentive. I mean, you don't have to come out and give that exact figure, but you can say, hey, for guys in developmental, scratching and clawing, trying to make it to the big stage, every little bit of chunk of change helps. And, you could have Alex Riley, healing it up with a challenge. You could have the babyface commentators doing whatever they'd want to do with this thing. Like, I just feel like there's so much possibility with something relatively simple,
Yeah.
or at least simple at first gaze. I hope they take full advantage of this, but the good news is I have confidence that they will, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm curious as to who his next live special opponent's going to be because the last time it was CJ Parker and it was still like a 20-second squash match. I'm just curious as to who they're going to put him up against next.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. Because I'm wondering when he's going to start facing the big game. I don't think it'll be the next live special, but we're getting there. We're getting there soon. Like, I'm telling you, he's going to be facing the likes of Tyson Kidd, Tyler
I
Breeze.
feel like
That's
his first
movie.
big feud might even be against Bull Dempsey.
Oh, yeah, the two powerhouses. Who
Yeah,
runs
it'd
the
be like
yard?
Unstoppable Force meeting the Immovable Object.
Right.
That would be
So,
really. I think I just booked a fantasy match in my mind.
yeah, there you go, man. There you go. Yeah, Baron Corbin is dominating in every sense of the word. I'm guessing that this. I said Bull Dempsey was the pet project earlier, but honestly, I didn't really give much consideration to Baron Corbin. I'd have to say that maybe he's going to be the new experiment, the Dr. Frankensteins of NXT. So I'll be curious to see how he really comes out of all this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really enjoying Baron Corbin's work. I wish this guy nothing but success because he's such a throwback because he's just this big, badass, tough guy who beats people in 20 seconds and then leaves the building. He is, I don't want to say Goldberg, but there's something very Goldberg-esque about him. And I think the biggest difference is I think this guy could probably go 10, 15, 20 minutes if you needed him to in a year or two after he's had the experience because to me, he seems like he wouldn't have gotten into the business unless he had some kind of passion for it. And I don't think that the WWE would have hired him unless they saw passion in him because he is another guy who you would have to be concerned about because he's also a former football player. So, yeah, I really like this guy. He probably wasn't my guy that I like the most on this show just because Justin Gabriel and Sami Zayn both had matches on the show, but he was probably a solid number 3.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with that said, we can move on because I have nothing more to say about this match.
All right, up next we had Marcus Louis versus Sylvester Lafore, and it really was just Marcus Louis yelling at Sylvester, being angry, yelling, "You did this to me," and hitting him with a Uranagi for the win.
Yeah, pretty much. To be honest, there is a little bit of intrigue for me about where Marcus Louis goes from here because commentary even mentioned he snapped. He's crazed because of the torment and the embarrassment he's had to endure, and just screaming repeatedly, "You did this to me!" And it almost has, not in the same vein, mind you, because that work was just masterful, and especially because I was a kid and it was easier to captivate my imagination. But it almost has that quality of when Kane first unmasked and he's like, "I need you to feel my pain," or originally "You said you weren't gonna laugh at me," along that same vein. And of course, Kane just destroyed everybody and set some people on fire. But Marcus Louis, he's just, I guess, blaming his own before, maybe even on a grander scale, everyone else. That's kind of ambiguous, at least for me. I'm curious where this is going to go. It could flare out very quickly, or hell, we could take an interesting detour with this. Either way, I can't believe I'm saying this about Marcus Louis, but I'm invested. So, yeah.
Yep. I guess I would say that I'm invested, but I still want to know where it goes. It's hard for me to get invested in something where I can't see the end game for it.
Right, and see, I just assumed that the end game would be that Marcus Louis causes LaForte to lose his hair. But you know what? Given his mentality and everything, I don't even really think it jives that well. Because again, we're talking about a man that's, insane, lost his mind. He's already beaten the crap out of LaForte. Like, I can understand wanting to take that pound of flesh, but in my mind, maybe he's already moving on to other things, more victims, more people to just pose the blame onto. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Up next, we had a Hideo Itami backstage promo. He said that he's fed up with this 2-on-1 nonsense and that next week he's going to be bringing a friend to make it a fair fight. And you and I both know who ends up being his partner in the long run, but I'm questioning whether that's going to be next week or if he's going to run through one or two or maybe even three other partners before he lands on the winner.
That's the question. Personally, I would prefer the latter option given who he ultimately will be teaming up with. But if they just want to get out of the way and just be
Dude, the pop he's going to get. Oh, my God.
Insane. I can't wait for it. But
I'm more excited for him than I was about Kenta.
Yes, me as well.
I think that of the big three, I am more excited about Prince Devitt and Kevin Steen than I was about Kenta. Because here's the thing. There's no language barrier. And that is such a huge deal in the WWE.
Yeah, and you know what? The good news for Hideo, at least from what I read, is that despite the fact that he's having trouble adapting to the WWE style, officials like backstage NXT are still just in love with him. One, because of who he is, obviously, but two, his work ethic in bettering his English and just getting better all around has been off the charts. So I've got to give Hideo
that's great to hear because I want him to be a success. But on that same note, I wanted Sin Cara to be a success too. So it's kind of a conflict of interests.
Right. I think the difference is but then again, so many reports are only going to get released and so many stories are going to be tantalizing, but I never read about Sin Cara working hard or just wanting to be better. I always heard about his injuries. Hideo here, yeah, they're saying he's working hard to improve his English, to close that barrier and to learn the WWE style. I think he wants this. And I think that's why you and me and hopefully everybody else that loves NXT, we're not going to leave his corner until either he gets served his papers or we just know that it's a dud, whichever one comes first.
Right.
Yeah, if he's willing to put that time in, then I'm willing to give him all the patience and the breathing room in the world. So
absolutely.
Go kill it, Hideo. We'll see you friggin' next week with your partner. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so up next we had Sami Zayn versus Titus O'Neil in what I would actually call the match of the night. These guys have really good chemistry together, and Titus O'Neil channeled his inner Mark Henry during this match.
Yeah, a lot of trash talking from Titus. And you know what, Ashton? It's funny that, I don't know if you said it this episode. I think you did, which is why it's so fresh in my mind. But you said that Titus O'Neil to you was kind of like the Jinder Mahal of NXT. And, to me, I found that funny reflecting on it now because I feel like with Jinder Mahal, when he was in NXT, I even commented how I enjoyed his matches more on NXT. And I get that same vibe from Titus. Because now, again, he's working with Sami Zayn, who I think could make a
and again, though, John, we got to remember, Jinder Mahal was working with Seth Rollins. So it really is really similar situations. Now, I'm not saying Titus O'Neil reminds me of Jinder Mahal. I'm saying that the role that he is in right now is incredibly similar, reminiscent to the role that Jinder Mahal was playing when NXT first became NXT from FCW at Full Sail. Yeah, I honestly I would even go out on a limb here and slap me if you think I'm being blasphemous here, but I think that Titus O'Neil's doing it better than Jinder did it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like
he's bigger, he's scarier, he's more menacing, he's more threatening in the ring, he's more charismatic, which I never thought I'd be able to say about him. But yeah, he's got a lot more going for him than Jinder did, and I really appreciate that NXT is kind of letting him shine, dude. The NXT, here's my thing, if it wasn't for the pay cut, everybody on the WWE main roster should be vying for a spot in that role where you are coming down from the main roster to challenge for the NXT Championship because you feel like it'll help you to get a better platform on Raw and SmackDown. You should be vying for that role, because look at what wonders it did for Jinder Mahal. Look at what wonders it's done for Tyson Kidd. I would say that it made Brodus Clay a little bit more interesting, but he still ended up getting released because he still just flat out sucked in the ring. And it's making Titus O'Neil more interesting. And I think that this run is showing me why Titus O'Neil is still even employed in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, much like Jinder, since I'm just going to ride that comparison all the way, I feel like I can enjoy Titus more because it's in a place like this that, don't get me wrong, we both love, but we're only going to have to, put up with that kind of a push if they were pushing him aggressively for just a certain amount of time each week. Whereas if it was like a main roster spot, I'd be like, oh dear God, when is it going to end? And yeah, I feel like this has brought out the best in Titus O'Neil. And he was so aggressive here with the bear hugs and slamming it out on the steel on the floor and just really taking it to Sami Zayn, that when Sami Zayn had to rally back and get into second gear, it was like the biggest freaking deal. And I really also have to credit commentary for that, particularly Jason Albert, because he made it seem like this big thing, because at one point Sami Zayn does the exploder suplex in the corner, and Jason Albert was just like marking out for it, like somebody's like, wow, can you believe it? I've never seen anything like that. And it was visually, it was very interesting to see a guy of Sami Zayn's stature suplex a guy the size of Titus O'Neil into the corner. And then he gets the haluva kick, and he gets the pin. So Sami Zayn, as far as his road to redemption is concerned, is 2-0. Yep. It's insane.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of the trash talk from Titus O'Neil tonight was on point too. Like, I remember at one point he had backed Sami Zayn into a corner, and he just yelled something about how, I didn't tell you that you could touch me or put your hands on me or something like that. And then he just he literally grabbed Sami Zayn by one of his wrists and one of his ankles and just lifts him up and throws him like a friggin' duffel bag. And then he looks at the crowd and he goes, y'all send a damn boy to do a man's job. And, like, dude, it felt like such a bloodbath for the first 15 minutes of this match. And there was even a point where Titus threw Sami out of the ring on the ramp. And Sami, on his way to recovering, you got to see his side. And there was a friggin' handprint on his side. It was a straight up welt. I cringed just thinking about how much that had to hurt. And then, yeah, like you said, Sami hits the exploder in the corner and then the haluva kick. And all I can say is they should give Titus O'Neil the nickname Glass Cannon, because that's what he is.
Yeah, pretty much.
He can really dish it out all day, every day, but he can't take it.
There you go. Beautifully said. After the match, Sami is celebrating, but then we get an interesting interruption from Tyler Breeze.
I was just going to say, would you go as far as to say a gorgeous interruption?
Oh, all day. And Tyler Breeze comes out, and he pretty much says, Sami, do you think beating those two uggos in Tyson and Titus is going to be enough to earn the number one contendership for the NXT Championship? Tyler Breeze pretty much says in his own unique way. I disagree. And this little road to redemption you're having, it's about to take a detour into the city of Cuteville. And he says he talked to William Regal, and next week it is going to be Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze, yet another person that Sami Zayn has never defeated. So it seems like our early theory, Ashton, of Sami Zayn having to ascend this ladder to get to Neville is really playing out.
Yes, and I feel like they're doing Zayn Breeze early enough that we still might get our Zayn Cesaro match between now and the next live special, and I am so excited about it.
I've already said to you, both on TWitWoW and just personally in conversation, that Zayn Cesaro needs to happen on this road to redemption. And I already told you the finish. Zayn gets the win, and Cesaro just kind of gives him one of those bro hugs and just kind of mouths to him, you're ready, as in, ready to take the NXT Championship. So I've already got this whole scene set up. Now it's just time for the execution. I've really been enjoying the build of Sami Zayn. I still was a little weirded out by the hiccup they had last week with the alleged arrogance in his voice, cutting that promo on Neville. But he came off incredibly sympathetic again here tonight and likable, which I'm glad we're back on track. Let's keep that going. Let's keep this road to redemption going. I can't wait for Zayn versus Neville. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be awesome. And it's next week. Or no, you said Neville. So it's going to be in December. And I was thinking Zayn Breeze, and that's next week, and that's going to be awesome. And I just can't wait. And NXT is awesome. And you know what, John? I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. We did watch NXT, and then immediately afterwards, we went and found and watched episode 1 of Lucha Underground, and it was amazing. And we've actually put out some feelers on Facebook and Twitter, and I think I might have even said something to somebody on YouTube. And now we're going to post the same question here. Would you guys be interested in the TWitWoW crew, John and I, however, reviewing Lucha Underground on a weekly basis? We would do it on the Wednesday nights. Since it comes on at 8 o'clock Wednesday nights, we would review it immediately afterwards and try and have it up by the time South Park is over at 10:30. So, hey, the question's out there. Give us some feedback, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, any way that you have of getting in touch with us. And depending on the kind of reception that we get, we're probably going to end up doing it.
Yeah, it was a great first episode, guys. I mean, so much to talk about there. But you know what? I'm going to save all that energy if you guys want us to do future reviews. But in the present, it is now time for high spots and low shots. And my low shot is Titus O'Neil.
Ah, I like it. I mean, he did look better than he probably ever has. So he's not going to be my low shot. I'm not going to sign on to that. But I definitely understand why you would go there.
I think, well, I mean, you pretty much gave me my case. I mean, Glass Cannon. Yeah, he looked like a beast, but when it really came time for him to play defense, he was weaker than the Atlanta Falcons. So there you go.
Wow!
Had to go there. Give up a 21-point lead. My ass! So yeah, Titus O'Neil is my low shot.
All right. My low shot's Emma.
Understandable. Definitely.
Because she's got that veteran experience, and she's way better in the ring than the person that she was in the ring with, but she tapped out.
She did. She tapped out to really, by all standards, a rookie, no less. So
and to really, by all standards, a sleeper.
Yeah. Not a good day for me, but I understand. So, moving on from that wound, so I could bandage it as quickly as possible, my high spot, you know what? I'm going to do it because I love them, and they had a great night, the freaking Vaudevillains.
I knew that. I knew you were going to go there.
I mean, number 1 contenders for the tag team titles have only lost one match as a team against the current tag team champions, so they already kind of know what to expect. And when it seemed like things were going to get ugly with the Ascension and David Diamond, they bolted, man. They're like, let's go celebrate, let's go do some improv, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. Do you think they do improv in their spare time?
Oh, you know it, man. You know it. Either that or write fan fiction, one or the other.
All right,
but regardless, yeah.
I want to kind of walk you through my logic on this high spot. I had it down to 2 people.
All right.
The reason I didn't pick Sami Zayn as my high spot is because I feel like he's going to end up being my high spot next week, because he has been kind of on a weekly basis conquering his demons. And this was one of the lesser demons, in my opinion, in Titus O'Neil. So my high spot is Baron Corbin, because yeah, sure, he's gonna win his matches, so that's kind of an obvious one. But this week was the introduction of the match counter, and that is such a huge deal for him, for NXT, for WWE. People counting how long his matches last, man, it is going to be. They can turn that into such a big deal. I am so looking forward to see where NXT goes with it.
And dude, you pretty much just gave the perfect justification for your own reasoning. The people made this happen. This wasn't something that NXT foisted upon us, though I would have been totally cool with it. This was something organically designed by the crowd, which tells me on a deeper level a vested interest in the journey of Baron Corbin. And when that happens, you know you're in a really good place when fans are going out of their way to create something unique to your identity. So yeah, Baron Corbin wins in spades to me. I think that's an excellent high spot. I mean, again, vaudevillains for me, I just thought contendership for championships and there was bias there, but your reasoning is on point. Baron Corbin, I think his star is going to burn so brightly in NXT. I can't wait to watch it all unfold.
Absolutely.
So with that said, you don't have anything else you want to say, right?
Absolutely not.
All
Quick
right,
episode
guys.
today. Quick episode.
Indeed, indeed. All right, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort in commentary action. We are the Tweetoff Tag Team Champions. I hadn't said it yet. And, guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss on Tweetoff. What did you think of NXT? And, of course, the most pertinent question. Do you want us to do reviews of Lucha Underground? We thoroughly enjoyed episode 1 and we want to hear from you guys because we think it could be a great product. Until then, we will see you again for our Monday Night Raw review where we'll see if Randy Orton and Seth Rollins can work out their differences. Maybe call in Dr. Shelby. Peace out, guys.